Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Blizzard ANZ Twitch channel for the opening night of Phase 2 of the ANZ HGC Premier Division. My name is Kit Fox, joined once again by GL Phoenix, the man sitting ever so snugly there to my left. And GLP, for those at home, we just had Crimson defeat Reality. Only one game was played due to Reality. Unfortunately, one of their players had to skedaddle, but Crimson will be happy to take that win. Regardless, my man, we have got Twisted Vision, the team formerly known as Outlaws, still holding their spot in the Premier Division due to the core rule, going up against the newly named 2M Warriors, who are now known as Xylphone.
Yeah, these are some really interesting lineups. We were talking at the start of the night that a lot of these teams essentially played a whole bunch of musical chairs with these rosters, and these are two of those lineups that were very much in that game. And looking at the two rosters, it's going to be very interesting to see how these two come together. And I feel as though this is one of the matchups that's going to be very pivotal in determining a lot of the positioning towards the end of the split.
Yeah, the first match, rather one-sided. Crimson extremely strong. You can tell that they have been putting in the scrims and the hours just in general of playing HOTS over the off-season. They have come to play. But now, let's see what these teams can do. Twisted Vision with a new org, new name, and hopefully new hopes. They're going up against Xylphone dudes, and already we can see the Shimada brothers being taken away. Genji for the blue side, and over on the red team, we have Hanzo taken away. So, I mean, the mobility we spoke a lot about before the first game, GLP, definitely something that is still fresh in the minds of these two teams.
Yeah, and also just for this map, Battlefield of Eternity, Hanzo is just so incredibly powerful. The amount of damage he can do to those immortals, just the neutral in general, just the serrated arrows at 4, it's very hard to try and race against an opponent who has that much extra damage against an immortal. So just not wanting to deal with that extra pressure, it's very good to just get that one off right off the bat.
It is going to be a best of 3. I mean, Battlefield of Eternity, one of my favorites alongside Tomb of the Spider Queen. I mean, it's one of those maps where you really do have to think about your draft. You're going to have to go for the burn on the immortal. So Muradin is actually going to be the first pick on the blue team. Now Garrosh and Malfurion, good answer coming back.
Yeah, very interested to see that Muradin come in as that first pick with things like the Malfurion and the Garrosh still available. We've seen them be very highly prioritized, but the Muradin, I'm surprised of the first pick priority for the side of Twisted Vision because of just, as I mentioned, the amount of other high priority things that are available. And more often than not, you're not going to really risk anything by leaving up the Muradin for your opponents. So I'm very interested to see what they have in mind for the rest of this draft.
I mean, he's an extremely strong frontliner, and there was once upon a time where Muradin was sort of the default frontline tank, when, in the sense that when all of your first picks were either banned or taken, Muradin was the guy. Well, I guess I have to play Muradin now, but hey, he's being prioritized here in the opening stages of the first 2 matches that we've seen so far. We saw it on Towers of Doom, we're seeing it here again on Battlefield of Eternity. It just goes to show you how much the meta has changed in a year, GLP. I mean, we saw Malfurion, we're seeing him here again. There was once upon a time where Tranquility was laughed upon. It basically had to be Twilight Dream. Now it's Tranquility for days, and I mean, why not? I mean, the AoE heals is extremely strong, and when there's no CC on the other side to deal with you, if you keep your distance, you're just going to be pumping out big numbers.
Yeah, I feel as though Malfurion is actually in a pretty good spot when it comes to his heroics. Both of them do see a reasonable amount of use. It's very situational, but both of them have those very strong power points. And so, yeah, the Malfurion is very just good in general. So he has so many things to that work in his favor. So very much understand the high priority. But going back to the side of Twisted Vision, they pick up the Li Ming and the Stukov. So Li Ming, very strong. I was mentioning before, the Hanzo with that race potential onto the Immortal. Li Ming can do something fairly similar, but we can do it from a bit of a safer position. Whereas Hanzo, you have to kind of get in there to get those right angles for those scatter arrows. Li Ming, you can just throw them over the wall to get a very similar effect, but it's not as powerful as that Hanzo, but still very strong to have in this map.
Blaze is a good ban on the side of Xylphone dudes. I mean, we talked in the first game just how strong of a heroic that the bunker is, and we saw it a couple times on Towers of Doom. I mean, Jesmez just planted the bunker straight in front of one of the towers and was just able to burn it down, basically getting themselves a free points, free experience up in that top lane. I mean, yes, you could argue that that the draft wasn't fantastic for their opponents, but hey, they played it fantastically, so they took the win. But now it's all about these two teams, Twisted Vision and Xylphone dudes, and Tracer is going to be the second ban for TV. So lots of mobility removed off the board here. And when you're on Battlefield of Eternity, I don't mind that, because there are, like you mentioned, a lot of walls that you can get over. There are a lot of cheeky little corners to hide around that can sort of put the walls up between you and your opponent. So I like that. Tracer can maneuver those, so can Genji, so can Hanzo, and even Blaze. I mean, he's just got everything, the whole kit and caboodle. Now it's back over to Xylphone dudes. They've got themselves the double pick here. Who do you think they're going to lock in to complement this Malfurion Garrosh?
Just trying to think, because with the Trace off the board, I really like that ban, because looking at what Team XD do have, the Malfurion, you can pair that with the Tracer very well. And we've seen throughout mid-season Brawl that the TAS Tracer was being picked up more and more often. It's actually going to be the Tykes and the Greymane, which is actually, now that you look at the who's on this team for Xylphone dudes, it does make a lot of sense. Formerly of the Quick Match Warriors, we had Tommy and we had Mad Hags and Leica of that same roster. These were picks that they ended up picking up with reasonable frequency over the course of the last split. So I'm not too unsurprised, but in the current meta, they're not necessarily the highest of priority assassins.
No, I mean, Tychus, when they said that they were removing armor, I thought Tychus was pretty much going to become redundant. I mean, we often see Tychus as the Arthas counter when he comes out, just because, or the Johanna counter, just because of his ability to shred with that minigun. But with the armor removed, it's good to see Tychus still actually getting himself in on this meta. He'll complement Greymane. He'll be dishing out the damage. Yep.
Well, the thing is, this is the Nexomania patch, and this is just before the removal of that armor.
Oh, so there we go. We're on Tournament Realm. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so it is just, that was 33.1, we're on 33.0, just straight Nexomania patch. So all those arms are still available, but to be honest, that's not really going to be necessary as a factor, because they don't have any of that passive armor on the side of Twisted Vision. So go for the Maiev and the Sonya. So this is a very all-in aggressive lineup. And they want to get into the face of the Xylphone dudes and really just clean up these team fights.
Tournament Realm was a dream for so long for this region. I thought that we were never going to see it. So glad that we are there now. But having a look at this solid lineup here for Twisted Vision, a notable ban fell through, and that was Maiev, and has actually been picked up. So we are actually going to get to see the Warden for the first time in quite a long time here, Jill.
Yeah, she started to fall out of favor towards the end of the mid-season Brawl. There were quite a few games where she would just fall completely through the draft. Teams were just so... they had a lot of the counters readily available, and they were starting to find ways to just deal with her, not just in the draft, but also in just the gameplay. So she just kind of fell through a little bit, but she does have some very good strong points, especially when paired with something like a Stukov, with the Warden's Cage into a lurking arm, to be very powerful and tough to get out of. And the last week for the Leoric, this is going to be an interesting match, because I feel as though both have some very strong ideas with what they want to do with their compositions. It's going to be a lot about execution at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Leoric either have lots of value with either March of the Black King or the Entomb. It doesn't really matter at this point, but with Garrosh, I think it's going to be the Entomb. But the Stukov lurking arm is something that they need to be wary of on the side of Xylphone dudes. I mean, that could potentially work against them. Should he throw down that lurking arm into the Entomb, they could basically, put the nails into their own coffin. But let's get it on, ladies and gentlemen. Battlefield of Eternity. It is Twisted Vision going up against the Xylphone dudes, proudly supported by McDonald's. Let us know who is going to take this one out in the Twitch chat. Will it be TV? Will it be XD? Let us know. Love to hear your thoughts. GLP, if you were a betting man, who would you be putting your chips down on?
Oh, it's really tough, because I like both of these compositions, but I don't know where I put my money, but I'm leaning a little bit towards Twisted Vision, just because of the very aggressive, just all-in, very proactive style that this composition seems to have. But I have to see how it goes, because there are a lot of tools on the side of Xylphone dudes that can really disrupt that.
I mean, the really big thing that stands out for me on the side of Twisted Vision is that Maiev, the playmaker, the 1%er. Oh, well, it's not really a junk. It's going to be more than the 1%. It's going to be about 50 with those Warden Cages. But let's see how he goes. And on the blue team, we do have Twisted Vision, and that is Coffee on Li Ming. Gondo is on Muradin. Magic Gnome playing Stukov. Xylence on Maev, and Domi on Sonya.
And on the red side, we have the Xylophone dudes. We have Tommy on Greymane, Leica is on Garrosh, Sailor is on Malfurion, Flaze is on Leoric, and Mad Hax is on the Tychus.
10 seconds.
So, I don't know. I'm really, really torn. I mean, if you take away the Maev out of the equation, I would probably have to give it to Xylophone dudes. Their strong front line of that Leoric and Garrosh backed up by the Greymane and Tychus, just able to deal massive, massive amounts of damage at range. And the thing I like about Greymane lately is that, you know, we only used to see him for that cocktail build, but now Wise and Duelist often gets pulled out in certain situations.
Yeah, he can be very aggressive with his play style, and just really pumping out a lot of auto attack damage over the course of teamfights. We'll have to see how that goes, and especially his race potential on a map like this, trying to just burst down a lot of those immortals. Very important as we get later and later into this game.
So the old punch up in the bottom lane is on, and already you can see Garrosh, that's Leica, finding value with the Groundbreaker Wrecking Ball combo, flipping Gondo, but hey, he's Muradin, he'll just toss himself back to safety. Up in the top lane, it is actually going to be Sonya up against Leoric, so Domi and Flaze. So keep one eye on that one already. There you can see Leica again finds the target, but it's Gondo. The Umbral Bind will actually connect here. Leica gets pulled in, needs to be careful. The Leeming Orb connects, but Garrosh, extremely strong, plus 30 armor. That passive, as soon as he gets down, he becomes harder and harder to kill, and unless you're a Li Ming, at this point, it's all physical damage.
Yeah, it's very hard to push through that, and especially with the amount of healing that Sailor will bring with this Malfurion, can keep this Garrosh alive, and it's going to be very hard to kill anyone early on in this bottom side unless someone overextends or there's a very good lockdown onto a particular target. But so far, it's just going to be just trading back and forth of experience and waves until we get to this first objective, and then we'll see how both teams are going to play. It looks like Division, they're going to start working towards Mercenary Camp and try and get some extra pressure in that using those. You can see down there, Xylence actually collects 3 with that Umbral Bind, pulls in Sailor, pulls in Tychus, but Li Ming gets taken down, works against him in the end there. Xylence proccing a good heal from Stukov there, blowing it. Will he go down? No, the cocktail was unable to find it from Tommy. But at the bottom camp, Kazuras will go over to Xylophone dudes. They take the early EXP lead and start to put the pressure on. Yeah, it looked like Twisted Vision, they wanted to force a reaction out of Xylophone dudes as Gondo is going to get locked down and demolished.
This is not what we expected at all. First 2 kills going over to Xylophone dudes. You can see Twisted Vision, formerly known as Outlaws, they're a majority of their lineup. I mean, they were, 3rd last season, sorry? And this is not the way that they wanted to start this one off. 2 early kills, EXP lead over to Xylophone dudes, trying to go back there. Mad Hax actually gets caught there by the pustule, but will go back, so it was delayed 15 seconds. He'll be joining this fight late. No, decides against it. He's just in 2 minds here. Does he go for the sippy cup, or is he just going to go back? No, he's going to sit there, soak the EXP, and hopefully get his team to level 7 first as they finally decide to, or both of the teams decide to go over and take their Shaman camps with Militarian-style precision. As the Immortal spawns, we're into phase number 1. It looks as though it's going to go down underneath the Xylophone dudes one. The silence is there, and that will be GG. See you later, Leoric. Fantastic Umbral Bind, and even better lurking arm coming out here on the side of Twisted Vision. That is what they needed. In goes Maev, throws out the Spirit. Sonya caught on top of the roots while spinning in the whirlwind, unable to get the heals that she was hoping for. Blaze now still there, finally rejoining the fight there on Leoric. Fan of Knives actually coming out here from Xylence and this Immortal. While that fight was going down, Twisted Vision, all they needed to do was focus fire, and this one's going to go over comfortably to them.
Yeah, they're doing very well on the side of Twisted Visions, just bursting it down and also not succumbing to a lot of the extra crowd control that Immortal will throw out on that attacking phase. So it's always very risky when you try and play a team fight on your opponent's Immortal because of those extra circles around the ground, especially when there's a Garrosh who can just so readily just throw you onto one of those lockdowns and really start a chain reaction of crowd control. So very well done from Twisted Vision, and they're just going to try to rush it down now.
They're playing this one very smart. I mean, the Immortal reset on their side of the field, so they use that time to heal up, regroup, just collect themselves. The Xylence now will actually collect 2 with the Umbral Vines as Sonya gets taken down by Tychus there, rejoining the fray. Muradin will toss himself away. Leica needs to be careful. They are under their Immortal and they secure 2 kills. This is the power of Tychus here on this patch. Level 6 now being hit by Team Xylphone dudes. But Twisted Vision are actually going to take the Immortal. So not a bad trade there. They'll get that one marching down the top lane and they'll use this time to go back, heal up, reset, and hopefully get themselves a couple towers to boot.
Yeah, it was a pretty good defense coming out from the Xylphone dudes, but because the Immortal had already taken too much damage, they couldn't really hold on to that defense. As we saw, the Li Ming was able to just throw spells from over the wall. It makes it incredibly hard to really defend for that long, especially when the Li Ming, she can be very safe in doing it as they
Silence gets flipped over the wall, and that's what we were talking about in the draft. The cheeky Garrosh plays and Leica making it happen for the Xylphone dude, so he's not going to let the saltiness of that battle tag sour his abilities here on the Nexus. He is out here to play, securing the kill, 5-1 now on the scoreboard in terms of kills, but even Stevens on the levels. It's 7 apiece. The bottom lane is Flaze versus Domi, Sonya versus Leoric. I tell you what, very reminiscent of the grand final of the Caster Clash, if I do say so myself. Shout out to Skimmy.
I wasn't going to mention anything. It was like, are you getting some war flashbacks at this point of this matchup?
PTSD of Caster's Clash where Skimmy whooped my ass in a long game. A long game. Let's be honest, the ARAM was not very nice to either of us, but hey, we got there in the end.
Yeah, so very nice play coming out from Twisted Visions. Even though they are losing out in a lot of these fights, as you mentioned, 5-1 in the kills, they aren't keeping themselves in the game because of their map plays. They're able to keep up with the experience, but right now it looks like Xylphone dudes, they are putting a lot of pressure down on this top side of the map, grabbing those camps, really going to grab themselves forward and really accelerate the experience.
Yeah, but Twisted Vision are doing exactly the same on the bottom side. They're just playing PvE style hots here at the moment, just trying to Zerg rush down these towers. And Xylphone dudes, they're not done yet. They have got their foot on the throat of the top lane here of Twisted Vision. Finally, the pings come out to get on out of there because TV, they're nowhere to be seen. They've disappeared from that bottom lane, and Xylphone dudes are smart enough to know that the potential rotation would have been coming up, so now they pull back, and again, we're going to go back to cleaning up the map here. The only camp that is available are the Kazuras down the bottom lane. Gondo doesn't have vision on any of the Xylphone dudes at the moment, and in comes Flaze, sees that one of the Kazuras has taken a little bit of damage, but there will be enough. There will be enough. They spot Sonya up in the top lane. There's 5 Xylphone dudes down at the bottom. They'll take this one comfortably and get that pressure on as the Immortal is now coming up at the hard camp. The Shaman's probably the best, well, in fact, the best camp in the game, I would say, has not been taken yet.
Yeah, and it's going to be something that Twisted Visions are going to have to try and leverage in this Immortal phase. They don't have level 10. Very well done for on the side of Xylphone dudes to make the most of this level 10 advantage. Just burst down this Immortal, just take it down to half, and then try and get something to further that advantage. We're almost at level 10 on the side of Twisted Visions, but they're just not going to risk it. Both sides are just going to just make the mutual agreement to just burst it down. I do believe that Twisted Visions are very much aware that they are going to be on the defensive side of these Immortals, but considering the situation when it comes to levels, not having heroics, that's probably the best case scenario for them at this point.
So both teams now finally hitting level 10. Warden's Cage locked in straight away from Maiev. And GLP, as the analyst, I just want to draw your attention to a talent pick here by Gondo. Sledgehammer picked up at level 4.
Yeah, just trying to, just talking about Immortal racing, just trying to accelerate that race as we get later into the game. As Sonya gets demolished.
Yeah, bottom lane Roots just finding their mark there. Greymane securing that kill with the help of the rest of his team, it must be said there. But Leica on this Garrosh is having absolute dollars worth of value. The Lurking Arm goes out and gets caught on the top of that, dealing a lot of damage. That is the value of Stukov here. Wait until he's actually gone for within my reach here. Wait until we get the rooting, the virulent reaction one. There goes the Warden's Cage. Li Ming just hocking orbs like they're going out of fashion here, and Tommy eats one, forced to retreat on the Greymane. In goes the Entomb from Leoric, and that's what we were talking about. The Lurking Arm working against the Team Xylphone dudes in the Entomb, and it costs Leica his life.
Yeah, they're able to turn around the fight, but they are going to be trading kills. It looks like it's going to end up in the end being a 1-for-1, but throughout all of that fort did go down and got a lot of experience, so we have a full level of experience in favor of Team XD, and they're going to be pretty happy with that. Surely it was a 1-for-1 trade, and you never really wanted to trade. You want to trade up, ideally, but the fact that they're able to keep this pressure going, they're in a pretty good spot at this point.
They're currently leading the EXP. They've got themselves 2 towers, and they've got themselves 2 keeps and a tower in the top lane as well. So that's a little bit for them. But oh no, Flays this time on the Leoric gets taken down, and that is the strong power of Stukov and that Lurking Arm. He's gone for within my reach as well, so the range of Lurking Arm increased by 50%, growing infestation just to expand the overall area too. And this is where Twisted Vision really need to be careful. They're behind on EXP, they're behind on kills, and just general morale as well. You've got Coffee on that Li Ming, who's being an absolute menace. Nobody can touch him at the moment, and that's really something that they need to do. Leica just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, channel his inner Arcana, and come up with some big mopper plays.
Yeah, and I just really have to respect the very aggressive rotation coming out for Twisted Visions, realizing that they weren't in a best position. They needed to make something happen, and a really great heads-up rotation, taking out Flays and also grabbing the camp for themselves, tries to get them, it's going to attempt to get them back into this game. They're still behind by about half a level, and are going to have to try and deal with that once we get into this next Immortal phase. But yeah, they're trying to make their way back into it, and they're doing it in very intelligent manners, not taking these very big team fights where they're already down in experience and also talent is, just going for the high percentage ones that may catch your opponents off guard.
Into the third Immortal phase, as the hard camps being taken by Xylphone dudes. They'll have that pressure in the top lane. That will force Twisted Vision to have to go and answer that. Magic Gnome was thinking about it, so was Coffee. In the end, they're going to decide against it and send Sonya up there, so Domi will be the one on cleanup duties, and that will just buy Xylphone dudes the time they need to take the first half of the Immortal phase. But TV, not without an answer of their own, they're going to get their own shamans. Yes, it's a little bit late, but they've got the pressure on there now, and now it's up to Xylphone dudes to answer here. But TV really need to stop this aggression here, because have a look at the damage! That Mad Hacks is pouring out here on the Tychus, and now in comes the Odin, throwing out tons of damage like it goes in with the Warlord's Challenge, collects 2, gets Coffee with the Groundbreaker, but he's going to fall down, or is he? Yes, finally, they secure Coffee, so leaving for Garrosh, not a bad trade. The Alpha Blind actually collects a couple of their Mad Hacks, and the rest of Xylphone dudes need to be careful. They're choked in. Leoric goes down. Sonya goes down. They're just falling over like 10 pins here at the moment. The Vengeful Spirit will be enough for Xylence to get away. Sailor now gets cleansed, and not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, in the end, it was a 1-for-1 trade, but throughout all of that, because of where the fight was taking place, it was on the Immortal of Twisted Vision, so a lot of that damage, a lot of that just extraneous damage was being put onto that, and by the time it was all said and done, yeah, it was just a 2-for-2, so all right besides Twisted Visions, but in the end, Xylphone just were able to just clean up an Immortal, and now they have a full health, full shield Immortal, and they're just going to start barreling down and looking like they wanted to grab a keep minimum at this point.
So 9-5 in terms of kill count, and this is actually looking pretty good here for Xylphone dudes. Like we said, they did the damage up in the top lane. They got themselves that cheeky EXP link, and they're going to do exactly the same in the bottom. That's a fantastic Entomb. There's ults and abilities left, right, and center here, and Stukov gets taken down. In goes the Indomitable, securing the kill there was Maiev onto the Leoric. They trade him up, and Greymane gets taken down as well. So the advantage going over to Twisted Vision here at the moment. Coffee on that Li Ming, like we were touching on before. He's sitting on the back line, but when he has to, he's willing to chase down these kills. Does actually have the Wave of Force as opposed to the Disintegrate as well. The Immortal is going to do the dirty work for Xylphone dudes, and they will disengage, get their rotation on, and just answer, soak it up. They're still ahead of EXP. They're still ahead in terms of map momentum and pressure. But at the moment, GLP, we've gone for the reset. A hush falls over the Battlefield of Eternity for now. But Twisted Vision, they see what's going on up there in the top lane. They just spotted XD going up and trying to take that top Khazra. Flays on scouting duties. Will they pull the trigger?
They want to make a similar play to what they did before. It's like, as soon as that Mortar went down, they caught Flays out on that top camp. They wanted to make a similar play happen, but realizing that the rest of XD were up there, they just can't really contest them, especially looking at the levels. There's a talent disadvantage, and level 16 is one of those bigger talent tiers that you can pick up. Just not wanting to go into that, especially with the Sonya on the other side of the map.
So again, pressure now being poured on this top lane. The Khazras, though, being marched down, 1 for each team, the bot lane and top lane respectively. You can see Domi going extremely deep on the side of Twisted Vision. He needs to get back because there's a lot of pressure coming out. FaZe is actually being as well, so both the solo laners will back, trying to answer their lanes respectively, and they'll do so. So FaZe on cleanup duty, pulls the mop out and says thank you very much for that EXP. And they'll hit level 17, and if they keep going at this rate, potentially level 20 first. Remember last time, in the last Immortal phase, Xylphone dudes took their Shaman camp early on, and now they've got the option to go for it. The steal is going to be there. Maiev goes in. There it is. Silence with the upper one. Into the Warden's cage. Lurking arm. Value for days. Huge plays coming out there from 2 kills. And Xylphone dudes on the back foot. They stole the camp away as well did Twisted Vision. Liger goes down, and poor Xylphone dudes do not know what just hit them.
Yeah, just a very, very aggressive invade coming out for the side of Twisted Visions, and this could very well just spell the end of this game. They're trying to take down this keep, but I'm not sure if they can actually go for the core at this point. The respawn time is a little bit too short, but they do grab that, and that's going to be a massive swing in momentum going over to the side of Twisted Visions. They were behind for the majority of this game, but now with a very aggressive and intelligent invade just catching Xylphone dudes completely off guard, they're able to swing it right back in their favor.
Take a bow, Silence. That was all off the back of that huge Vengeful Spirit Warden's Cage combo, backed up superbly by the lurking arm of Magic Gnome, and then Leica just fell over, didn't really have any choice other than that. And I'll tell you what, this is where Twisted Vision, they've finally turned the dial up. This is why they were third last phase, formerly known as Outlaws. Now Xylphone dudes need to make something happen here. In goes Leoric, but it's just a little bit confused as to who to go for here. FaZe just stuck in Wraith form there for a little bit. Twisted Vision will use this time to take their Shaman camp because they've got the advantage. They've got time to play with here now. Will this be another steal? No. They decide against it, and Sonya getting over the wall there. In goes the Entomb. Meanwhile, on the backline, Silence is chunking down the squishies. Mad Hacks and Tommy taking it. Now FaZe needs to be careful. Into Wraith form goes away. They trade it up. The Origin for Maiev. Warden's Cage was burnt for no kill, no follow-up at all. Gondo now, even though he does have the Avatar, needs to be very, very careful. In comes the Odin from Tychus. Will this be the game changer? Tommy spinning to winning like a Beyblade. Doesn't actually get the healing he was hoping for. Lurking arm now actually comes out, and that will be the kill. Well done there by Leica with the groundbreaker, followed up by Mad Hacks, and now Xylphone dudes, they've turned it back. The seesaw style plays here, GLP, but Gondo does have that sledgehammer. Much little HP, he can do it. No, Dwarf tosses away. Smart play. No, he's going for the... he actually went for the mount up there, but Mad Hacks was lurking. Red team's core under attack there. There's a couple catapults in the bottom lane, but FaZe is on duties to clean that one up. Meanwhile, Tommy on the grey main, he gets to work, burning down that Immortal. Gondo needs to be careful, trying to go for the sneaky kill. Doesn't actually get it, even with Sledgehammer. He's got 3 men staring him down. 3 big bodies were enough to take him out, and that is 50 seconds on the bench. In goes Silence, gets caught underneath the Immortal. You do not want to be fighting there. Follow-on's challenge is going to secure the kill. What are you doing, Twisted?
So close, they do get it.
They're getting greedy, but yes, Magic Gnome finally getting the kill. Or will he go down? Body block coming out from Mad Hacks. But I'll tell you what, GLP, that was almost disastrous there. They had tunnel vision on the Immortal, and it almost cost them, but you've got to give a special mention there to Tommy, for dealing a massive chunk to the Immortal. So it won't be as difficult for them on defense here.
Yeah, they will be able to deal with it, and especially with those extra kills, those staggered kills towards the end, they should have a lot more freedom to take care of this Immortal. But still, if that had gone over to the side of Xylphone dudes, that would have been a lot of pressure just swung in back in their favor. Looking at the experience, because of the amount of kills that end up going over to the side of XD, they're almost at level 20, and they're not able to really be aggressive with that just yet. They will be able to hit it and then try and make a play on the map, trying to secure some kills and then ending up into the base of Twisted Visions. But this has been so back and forward, and a lot of it has been around these Immortal, just around objectives in general. The Immortals, a lot of fights going around those, and very intelligent invades from both sides, trying to really catch their opponents off guard.
So the casual cam's going to be picked up respectively, top and bottom by each of these teams. Top lane by Xylphone dudes, bottom by Twisted Vision. So there's a lot of pressure coming in. That's where Twisted Vision really want their pressure. They've got an open keep in the bottom lane, and they can just continue to support their catapults as they march in. Now, Vision is Twisted Vision don't have exact vision on Xylphone dudes at the moment, but there we can see them revealing themselves up in the top lane. They're going to take that tower, hit level 20 first. In comes the Odin. This is the massive power spike. They need to force an engage here. The nukes are coming down. They're flying thick and fast. While they have the core disadvantage, they're about to try and open up this top lane for themselves. The nuke's still coming out from Tigers. Lots of damage, but Gondo doing Gondo things there on the Muradin, just soaking up a lot of damage. In goes Flays in that Wraith form, just being very, very cheeky. The threat of Entomb is ever present. They'll take the tower and answer it back, so smart play here. Smart play coming out here from the Xylphone dudes as we're going to go into the Immortal phase in just under 20 seconds time, as there's some cheeky free core damage coming out here on the bottom. Catapults, the Winions, getting it done for the side of Twisted Vision. Camp's going to be taken. GLP, a hush falls over the map yet again as we get into this phase. Level 20 though, that's the real thing that Twisted Vision need to set their sights on.
Yeah, they're able to get it just now, just in perfect time for this Immortal phase. They were very cautious and very defensive with how they were positioning, not wanting to overextend to try and defend a keep that was more than likely going down, especially with that 20 spike. So now they have the opportunity to take a fight for themselves, but it looks like Xylphone dudes, they want to get aggressive, they want to start putting pressure on that Immortal as they take a few of them taking a bit of an unnecessary stun, but it's going to be very tense in this Immortal phase because this could very well just end the game right here.
Well, it's a potential win condition. I mean, one team fight here at level 20, the spawn timers, they are long, and they're definitely not something you want to play with at this point in the game. 21 minutes have passed, and there's just map pressure being applied here by both of these teams at the moment. Domi has to go up to the top to clear the Shaman camps and the catapults that are causing him a fair bit of trouble there. In goes the virulent reaction. Silence now will actually pull Leica back on top of the lurking arm, taking a lot of damage, sitting at 34% armor at the moment, which isn't actually too bad at all. All he has to do is avoid those Li Ming orbs, and he'll be able to sustain himself in that fight for quite a long time, especially when you've got the support of the Malfurion, who has actually picked up Twilight Dream. We spoke a lot about how Tranquility came back into the meta, and you said it yourself. I mean, both of the ultimates find extreme value. Flays down needs to be careful because Wave of Force pushed him into the enemy team, gets thrown away by Leica. So well done there, just pulling away. Silence down into the Warden's Cave. Gondo eats it, and the rest of Xylphone dudes, they lose one, they lose two, they lose three, and how about that? Cash me outside, they say. Twisted Vision, they get 4 in the bank, and they leave Mad Hacks to fend for himself. I suppose you can count Flays kind of in his ghost form, but there's damage being poured onto the top lane of the core. They're not going to have a bar of it, a Twisted Vision. They want this win, and Gondo, with that sledgehammer, it must be said to non-heroic enemies, is definitely a talent that's definitely perked the eyebrows up, GLP. They'll take down Mad Hacks here. In fact, they won't even turn their attention to him. They're just going to go ham on the core, and that will be GG to Xylphone dudes.
It's a very, very strong fight coming towards the end there for Twisted Vision. Just getting that lockdown onto Flays and just causing a very frantic reaction out of the members of Xylphone dudes. They had to get Garrosh in there to throw out that Leoric, and at that point, everything was just going chaotic. Really good setup there from Xyliance on the Maiev, just giving such good freedom over to Coffee on that Li Ming to just start throwing spells left, right, and center. And once that first one went down, that's when the resets started coming in. All those orbs, all those missiles, just really just cleaning up the rest of that fight. And at that point, it's really hard to recoup a fight when you lose one, and especially against a Li Ming, and then everything just starts falling out of your hands.
Yeah, it was 4 quick frags, the resets, MVP, and then they weren't even going for the Immortal. They realized their win condition. Yeah. Smart play there from Twisted Vision. That is why they were one of the contenders, definitely chomping at the heels of Mind Freak and Crimson. They're a team with potential, and still I don't think we've seen it. They can play a lot better than that, but you have to tip your hat to them. Xylance, with some massive plays there with that Maiev, throwing out the Vengeful Spirit, especially that steal on the Shamans, that was a game changer.
Oh yeah, because they were pretty much struggling for a lot of that, but that very strong invade, getting the Maiev over the wall, and especially combined with that Stukov and the lurking arm, just so much lockdown, it's very hard to deal with. And when a lot of what you do kind of relies on having your abilities available, you can't really do much. And when, as we saw in that last fight, once one goes down, the second usually follows pretty quickly, and a Li Ming just controls the fight at that point. And yeah, it was very strong play coming out from Twisted Vision. And you're talking about how it is essentially the few remnants of the Outlaws roster, but there are quite a few players who we're not used to seeing in the competitive from the competitive side of things. Like Xylphone, we see him from time to time over in Hero League, and very much known for his Summero over in Hero League. But coming into this competitive setting, it's a very different mindset. And coming in with that Maev of that first game, very impressed by what he's showing.
Yeah, definitely should have drafted him. Where was this man in phase one? I mean, Xylone's
still playing Summero probably somewhere.
Yeah, still playing Summero in Hero League, but now he's here playing Maev in the Premier Division. And I tell you what, he's not always going to get Maev. Let's be honest. It's usually first ban, but definitely made the most of it there. And I'm going to say it. Credit to him for turning the tide of that turning the tide of that fight and that match. Because the early frags were actually picked up with that Garrosh value by the Xylphone dudes. And I think TV were, 5 frags down, potentially more at one point, and their ability to turn it around off the back of the big plays was phenomenal.
Yeah, and, we can sing all the praises of the Twisted Visions all we want, but they have to give a lot of credit over to the side of Xylphone dudes for putting up a very strong showing in this first game, and I'm very excited to see how this next one's going to go.
Well, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to take a very short break. In fact, less than 5 minutes while we just get the next game underway. So don't go anywhere, and we will be back with game number 2 of Twisted Vision versus Xylphone dudes, proudly supported by McDonald's, right after this.
Through your nuts. If you get out, ginger cunt.